Welcome to Identifying and Realizing the Business Value of AWS. I'm Jim Robertson, a Business Development Manager on the Cloud Economics team. If you'd like to know more about how AWS can help you drive business outcomes, you're in the right place. Let's get going. This session is comprised of 3 sections. In the first section, we present a framework that you can use to identify how AWS can help you create value, along with a tool you can use right away to get a high-level view of this. In the second section, we talk about how users think differently about managing costs in the cloud versus the data center and what you can do to stay on top of your AWS costs. In the third section, we share the success other users have had in migrating to AWS and how this has helped their business. Let's start with identifying the business value of operating on AWS. There are 2 main approaches when it comes to quantifying the business value of your cloud migration or adoption project. The top-down approach is a quick value analysis and provides you with an estimated view based on your peers' performance. You can use these insights to build or supplement your business case, or track relevant KPIs in your organization and compare these against industry standards and best practices. The bottom-up approach requires you to collaborate across various business units in your organization, which tends to be more time-consuming while you gather data from multiple teams. However, you will get a business case tuned to your organization that is more accurate than using the top-down approach. You can use one approach or a combination of both based on your needs. Let's first see how the top-down approach works. How do users think about how the cloud adds value to their organizations? Think about it from the perspectives of your different stakeholders. What side of the chart does your CFO and purchasing department care most about? Probably cost savings on the left side, right? Some of their KPIs focus on IT spend per application user and total IT infrastructure spend. What about your IT group? They will be interested in how migrating to the cloud can improve productivity for server and storage and database admins. What about your information security group? Probably the operational resilience piece. They focus on a collection of KPIs on availability, minimizing the number of incidents, and quick recovery from incident detection. And how about your end users, your customers? What they experience from the cloud is probably more on the right side of this chart, availability and agility. They probably don't care so much if you are able to save cost on the left side without seeing the improvements in products and services they receive. AWS initiated value benchmarking research in 2018, and we continue to expand the study every year to provide users with more accurate and relevant insights. The first pillar of the cloud value framework is cost savings, which come from avoiding the large fixed costs needed for on-premises infrastructure and reducing variable costs through AWS's economies of scale. When working with our customer Live Nation, the world's leading live entertainment company, they had a very short timeline to migrate 668 servers onto AWS. When building the business case, we estimated the team could realize 18% in cost savings. When the migration was complete, they realized close to 20% savings in TCO. As they got better at operating in the cloud, they were able to realize a 40% cost reduction within 12 months and 58% in 18 months. Now, when you think about the basic economics of the cloud, let's look at infrastructure costs on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. Typically, predicted demand in purple will go up to the right. Large fixed infrastructure investments in green are added in a step function, so capacity will be greater than predicted demand. One thing we all know is that forecasts are usually wrong. In this example, actual demand in blue comes in differently than we have expected. In the one case, you are over-provisioned. Typically, customers will provision anywhere between 20 to 50% over peak predicted demand. Additionally, the National Resources Defense Council finds that average server utilizations range between 12 and 18%. And finally, A recent McKinsey study found that over 30% of servers were utilized less than 10% of the time. And those industry averages are exactly why there is so much value to be realized from migrating to the cloud. In the second case, actual demand exceeds capacity, and this results in undesirable outcomes. This can mean slow servers, unresponsive applications, downtime, and possibly unhappy customers. On AWS, you can flex your infrastructure up or down to meet demand and only pay for what you use. This elasticity offers significant cost savings over a model where you have to make big bets on future demand months or in some cases years before you know what the real demand is going to be. Now I'm going to quickly go through the insights that we learned from 2 rounds of benchmarking studies. Let's start with the first and left pillar of cost savings. So just a refresher that these results are from over 1,500 customers surveyed who have migrated to AWS for more than a year. Here is what we learned. Overall, there was a 19% reduction in IT infrastructure spend since migrating to AWS. These are all customers that have many of the factors causing total cost to go up or down. Some of them doubled the size of their business or significantly increased their user base. So when we normalized it by looking at spend per user, the cost per user dropped by 27.4% after migration. And these cost reductions grow as customers mature and scale on AWS, with a 42.4% reduction in spend per user for larger applications with more than 1,000 users. We also look at customers who run AWS exclusively and those that have multiple public clouds. We find the spend per user was 12.3% lower for AWS exclusive customers. Let's move on to staff productivity. As a reminder, staff productivity essentially is the benefit of eliminating or reducing time spent on tasks that are no longer needed in the cloud. Essentially what happens is that tactical work drops, and that tactical work is able to be replaced with more strategic work. And typically, what we see with customers is that this differential increases over time as higher level AWS services and managed services are adopted. In our benchmarking study, we examined how many VMs and terabytes of data are managed per admin, both before and after migrating to AWS. Overall, we found there was a 57.9% increase in VMs managed per admin after migrating, and a 67.7% increase in terabytes managed per admin after migrating to AWS. We also had a lot of profiling questions in the study, and what was really significant was looking at those users who had re-architected, refactored, or replatformed to fully leverage the functionalities and the benefits of the cloud. For these users, staff productivity is more than double the improvements seen in the overall population, and those users who just simply lift and shifted or still co-hosted on the cloud and in on-premises facilities. Let's move on to the next area of the cloud value framework, operational resilience. And remember, operational resilience is the benefit of improved availability and security that comes with AWS. Condé Nast was able to increase its uptime by 15% to 3 nines, and in the case of failure can restore its operations in a matter of minutes and not hours or days. Here are some of the KPIs that we measured in operational resilience. We see users are reporting a 56.7% decrease in downtime after migrating to AWS. Furthermore, they reported a 24.1% decrease in total monthly incidents and a 31.8% decrease in critical incidents after migration. So we have lower downtime, lower incidents, and lastly, a 39.3% decrease in mean time to resolution for those fewer incidents that emerged. Next, we'd like to talk about the last pillar of business agility. On the cloud, you don't have to wait 3 to 6 months or longer for a new server to be requested, approved, ordered, received, provisioned, tested, and finally put into service. It can happen in minutes. This means you can move a lot more quickly, develop new products, and see if they resonate with the market. The benchmarks that measure business agility show users experience a 37.7% decrease in time to market for new features, a 39.9% decrease in time to deploy code to production, and an almost 3.5 times increase in code deployment frequency. So these are the insights from the quantitative type of benchmarking studies we performed. Hopefully, you can use these statistics to ignite the way you can reimagine and develop a top-down business case to better serve your customers. And a lot of these metrics and improvements have been confirmed by other research as well. Let's now look at building a top-down business case using some of these metrics. We'll build a top-down business case for each of the cloud value pillars, starting with cost. Figures in green cells are where you can input metrics specific to your organization. The remaining cells are either benchmarks we discussed earlier or calculations. Start estimating cost savings with the average annual on-premises cost per VM. Here we're using $4,600, which includes hardware refresh costs, maintenance, spares, racks, facilities, operating systems, and virtualization managers. This is for infrastructure only and excludes any application costs. Reducing these costs by 19% results in an average annual cost savings of $847 per VM. Multiplying this number by the number of VMs in your data center suggests you could save $8.7 million a year by migrating to AWS. Moving to staff productivity, we start with the number of VMs in your environment, the same figure we use to estimate cost savings. From benchmarking, we observe an average 58% improvement in productivity, which means you could refocus 5 of your 8 server admins on higher-level strategic tasks. Based on a storage pool of 2 petabytes, a 68% improvement in productivity suggests you could refocus 4 of your 6 storage or database admins on higher-level strategic tasks for a total of 9 FTEs. Looking at operational resilience, start with the number of hours of unplanned downtime your organization experiences in a year. Applying an average improvement on AWS of 57% suggests you could reduce your unplanned downtime by 5 hours. With the average cost per minute of downtime of $17,244 from the Ponemon Institute, you could reduce your downtime cost by $5.1 million a year. Lastly, we turn to business agility. If your organization needs 90 days to get a new application to market, you could expect to reduce this time by 38%, which is a 34-day improvement. Launching 3 applications per year suggests you would realize 102 days of total improvement overall. If the average application generates $10 million of revenue in a year, this is about $30,000 a day. If you're able to generate 102 more days of revenue, this would be $2.8 million, which at a 25% profit indicates you could realize additional profit of about $700,000. Summing this all up results in a total annual value of $14.5 million and 9 repurposed FTEs by migrating to AWS. Try this exercise yourself with your own metrics to get a sense for the value your organization could realize. In the top-down approach, we use value-based benchmarking data that reflects the business value realized by your peer group who have migrated to the cloud. In the bottom-up approach, the majority of the analysis is based on actual data from your organization. This can take longer, but will result in a business case that is tailored to your organization and is more accurate than a top-down approach. Let's take a deep dive into this. When we compare cost between an on-premises data center or a colo facility to costs on AWS, we compare these costs over the period of a hardware refresh cycle, typically 3 to 5 years. To ensure we are making a fair and accurate comparison, it's important to include all of the costs in these cost buckets. We find it helpful to include as many actual costs from users' organizations when preparing a business case, but for those costs that are hard to collect, we use industry benchmarks collected by doing hundreds of business cases a year. AWS Migration Evaluator is a no-cost service that can help you make faster and smarter migration decisions. To kick the process off, the Migration Evaluator team installs a collector to record server performance and key metrics. If you already have the data we need, we can skip this step of installing a collector. Migration Evaluator ingests your on-premises server inventory and, using the specifications of your server, produces an on-premises cost estimate including the cost of server hardware, power, cooling, storage, virtualization, and operating systems, as well as Microsoft SQL Server costs. Using validated processor performance data from Intel and up-to-the-minute pricing from AWS, Migration Evaluator quickly identifies, monitors, and right-sizes workloads to eliminate over-provisioning on AWS. It offers a thorough analysis of all Microsoft licenses, including SQL Server, down to the version level, and can compare the costs of different licensing strategies. The tool provides specific purchasing recommendations to make sure you are paying only for the usage that you need. If you don't need to use your servers at nights or over the weekends, why pay for them? Shut them down. In this case example, a user was interested to quantify the value that was possible by migrating to AWS. The Migration Evaluator team was able to deploy a collector that collected the information from their environment to prepare a business case. In addition to identifying the number of servers and the amount of attached storage, the collection agent also identified those servers running SQL to add granularity to the analysis. Migration Evaluator provides a deep dive understanding of your environment and the data needed to accurately estimate your on-premises costs and AWS costs. Each server monitored is classified into one of 5 categories. In use. This is different from power on status. These are servers that are engaged in activity during the collection window. Idle. These are servers that were powered on but were used so infrequently that they did not support the business in a meaningful way. Unclassified. These are servers that were powered on but the collector was unable to identify any metrics that indicate status. These could be servers that are in the process of being provisioned, for example. Zombies. These are servers that were not powered up. They could be servers that were going through a hardware or a software refresh, or could be servers just taking up rack space that have been decommissioned. Expected idle. These are servers that were not in use during the collection period, but are expected to provide some sort of value when they are in service, such as servers that support disaster recovery. The scan also identifies the distribution of operating systems as well as different versions of SQL. Based on the data collected, Migration Evaluator estimates the annual cost for operating and refreshing on-premises hardware and software and compare these costs to operating the same infrastructure on AWS in an apples-to-apples basis. The 15.3% zombie server count offers a good opportunity for savings in this assessment. 827 servers had peak CPU utilization under 20% over the 12 days that data was collected. These are great candidates for right-sizing onto more efficient EC2 instances to help eliminate over-provisioning. The end goal is to produce migration recommendations so that you can identify the right size and lowest cost infrastructure option for each of your applications and environments. This analysis identifies a potential for saving 38% annually by migrating to AWS. Now we turn our attention to managing value on AWS. After you've made the decision to migrate, managing these resources requires a new set of business processes, skills, and tools. Cloud financial management is a set of activities that enables finance and technology organizations to manage, optimize, and plan costs as they grow their usage of AWS. This allows users to achieve their business outcomes in the most cost-efficient manner and accelerate economic value realization. The disciplined approach of cloud financial management enables users to find the right balance between agility and control while improving unit economics and cost efficiencies. The 4 pillars include measurement and accountability. Measurement and accountability focuses on creating an appropriate level of granularity with respect to cost and usage visibility, influencing cloud consumption behaviors through cost allocation, reporting, and KPI tracking. Cost optimization focuses on reducing the cost of your AWS footprint through technical and commercial optimizations that ensures your organization pays only for the resources it needs. Planning and forecasting. Planning and forecasting focuses on setting expectations, improving business and financial predictability, as well as using AWS as an enabling agent for strategic, long-term business transformation. Cloud financial operations. Cloud financial operations focuses on the operational, people, and technological enablers of continuous cloud financial management that scales with your cloud journey. Establishing executive sponsorship is key for investment in people, governance, and tools for cost management. This framework provides a formal, disciplined approach to managing, optimizing, and predicting AWS costs in a continual manner. Let's double-click on cost optimization. When you operate an on-premises data center, many of the architectural decisions are made in the design phase. How many square feet, racks, how much capacity, among others. On AWS, you are making architectural decisions every day, and it's important to regularly review the cost implications of these decisions. But where to start? This chart can help you prioritize your actions. Purchasing instances on demand is where many users start. It's easy, fast, and requires no upfront commitment. When you have clearer visibility into your computing needs, making a 1 or 3 year commitment by purchasing a reserved instance or savings plan can save you up to 72% off on-demand rates. Taking advantage of cloud-based architectures such as serverless and Spot can also reduce your costs. For example, using AWS's spare capacity by buying Spot instances can save you up to 90% off on-demand rates. Right-sizing is about selecting the cheapest instance for what you need. This will typically be based on CPU, RAM, storage, and network needs. When migrating to AWS, using discovery tools to determine metrics such as peak CPU and RAM utilization will allow you to choose the right size from day one, which takes much less effort than right-sizing after deployment. Scheduled instances enable you to purchase capacity reservations that recur on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis with a specified start time and duration for a 1-year term. You reserve the capacity in advance so that you know it's available when you need it, and you only pay for what you schedule. Deleting idle resources like EBS volumes that aren't attached to an instance can also save you money. Does all your data need to be in S3? S3 has the highest durability and is best for frequently accessed data, but you can save money if you don't need this level of performance by using other storage services such as S3 Infrequent Access or Glacier. Our final section focuses on why you migrate or build native on AWS in the first place. What kind of value are users realizing? What business outcomes are reasonable to expect based on others' experience? Let's jump in. Intuit Mint is a free personal financial management service used by more than 6 million consumers in the United States and Canada. The service connects a customer's financial information, such as a bank, credit cards, and bills, and presents the information in a single place. Mint automatically updates and categorizes information in real time so customers can see the status of their finances, track their spending, and keep a close eye on their investments. Mint.com was originally hosting in an internal data center, but the team needed to improve its ability to scale up or down to meet peak traffic demands. They knew that moving to the cloud made sense given the nature of the workload. Given that they are managing financial data, security was of paramount importance. Therefore, they chose AWS based on security, availability, and cost. Their Director of Application Development and Cloud Operations has highlighted that using RDS has led to a 25% cost reduction and, just as important, a 15% improvement in database admin productivity. This additional time is now spent with the development teams to build better products. Resilience has also improved. Failover scenarios used to require a 30-minute intervention. Now it takes 1 minute. In addition, they run Mint.com across 3 availability zones to increase their availability. This allows them to meet peak conditions at the lowest cost and provide a positive customer experience. As you continue your cloud journey, you should expect to see your usage and costs increasing as your organization increasingly learns about the cloud and how different teams realize how they can benefit from operating on AWS. Organizations that are successful in managing their costs find it helpful to focus on unit costs. Unit costs reflect how much cost is incurred for a business activity, number of customers, orders processed, seconds or gigabytes of video streamed. Understanding your unit costs and taking actions to continually drive our costs help you to become as cost optimized as possible. In April of 2020, AWS commissioned a study to quantify the business value that customers achieve by implementing cloud financial management. In the survey, they found that customers who are further along in their cloud journey employed more cloud financial management best practices and used more AWS cost management and governance tools, which led them to realize lower unit costs, generate more revenue and profitability, and reduce overall business risk. So, this has all been great, and I've learned a lot, but where do I go from here? Glad you asked. Here are 4 things you can do straight away. You can understand how your organization can create value with AWS by doing your own top-down business case like we did here. You can dive deep with a bottoms-up business case with the Migration Evaluator team. And you can also visit our website to learn more about AWS Cloud Financial Management solutions, as well as opportunities to build your knowledge through adding certifications. And here are some more resources and opportunities for learning more about migrating to AWS. For AWS, I'm Jim Robertson. Thanks for watching. P.S. And please complete the session survey. 90% of what AWS builds is driven by what customers tell us, so your opinion is important. Thank you.